Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show. All hands back at battle station.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
All right, we have some breaking news for everybody on Wednesday, the 28th of August, just 1 or 2 minutes after 5 o'clock on the afternoon, East Coast. As you know, here on the Tom Trento Show, the United West Hour Work, we have many sources in Washington, D.C. We have just been handed a document that has come from the Situation Room in the White House. And our sources have told us that, as you know, there's a mess in the Middle East. President Obama himself has worked out in great detail a plan to resolve the understand the difficulties, first of all, in the Middle East, and to resolve these difficulties. Breaking news here. TrentoVision, WNN 1470, 28 August, 3 or 4 minutes after 5 o'clock. Mark, can you put up the president? This is created.
I haven't seen the verification on the document. Are we cleared to show this yet?
I don't care. The sources were good enough. It looks like the president's work. We'll put it out there,
Right.
and
Okay.
I think it'll be
All
fine.
right.
It's the plan to solve all the problems in the Middle East. Let's bring it up. All right, here we have a tight shot. And this is not a fancy document, folks. This was done, I think the president did it on an iPad. And we're looking at it. This is the United States. He's centering, obviously, all the solutions to the world, solutions to the globe, solutions to global warming, solutions to the alignment of the planets, and solutions to the way the Middle East will be resolved. Here it is. Let's pull out, Mark, and let's take a look at the president's plan for resolving the difficulties in the Middle East. Okay, so here we have a bunch of arrows that the president has drawn from the United States. We have red arrows, green arrows. For those of you driving, we're looking at a schematic, sort of a draftsman's design with kind of a flow chart. And the first arrows go to General al-Sisi in Egypt, and then we have a red arrow going down to the Muslim Brotherhood. Pull out a little more, Mark.
That's not actually connecting, Tom.
Yeah, these are connecting. Let's pull out. Okay. Show the folks a little more. Now we have the Lebanese Shias, because they're involved up north, and we have the Hamas right over there, a box. We have red and blue and green. You got youtube.com/The United West. All you folks driving your car, you got to go to the archives and see this this document the president has put out. Show the whole thing, Mark, will you please? And here it is. Here's the president's solution to understanding the problems in the Middle East and resolving all of them. So the green arrows means support. The red arrows means we hate you. And no, the blue arrows mean support. The red arrows mean we hate you. And the green arrows mean nobody has a clue.
The blue arrows mean support, Tom. The blue arrows mean support.
The blue arrows
mean we hate you. The green arrows means good. So red hate, green good.
No clue.
Blue support.
The green is nobody has a clue.
There's nobody there who doesn't hate us. What are you talking about?
There it is.
That was a chart.
That was it.
That was it.
That's the president's plan for solving the problem. You know what? That's just about the president's plan.
His lines are so tidy, though.
Yes, they were nice.
If we were MSNBC, we'd be saying, "Look how neatly he drew those lines."
And the arrow ends.
Look how smart the president.
That engineer arrow ends. They were engineer arrow ends.
And he colored in the lines perfectly.
Hey,
looks entirely too complex for a community organizer.
Isn't the president smart to draw that kind of complex design and make it so easy?
We have the smartest president ever.
Unbelievable, folks. Hi, Tom Trento.
CJ.
Abdullah.
Mark.
That's
okay, well, we're close enough.
There's no more.
It's enough. That's enough trouble. We can cause enough trouble in the globe, in the universe.
Invisible Mike is somewhere in the building.
Yeah, he is.
That's right.
We have a great show for you today, as always. We have a special guest in a little bit, Mr. Kevin Shipp, former operational agent for the clowns in action.
Clowns in
some
action.
people
Yeah.
say.
Clowns in
Clowns in
action.
action. CIA, and he had
You're
a
just
very.
showing off how in the know you are
Yeah, I know,
when
I know.
you say that, you know.
He had, there's his website and his book, The Company of Shadows. He had a very interesting career in the agency, where he was a very distinguished spy, whatever, analyst, spy, whatever you want to say. And he's had a little falling out with the folks in Langley. We're going to hear live from Kevin Shipley just in a little bit. He'll be Skyped in by video. And what you're going to hear is not very comforting. And when you put what we're going to hear together with the president's map in the Middle East, we're screwed, folks, okay? What can we tell you? Things are pretty bad. But we had a great Monday and Tuesday, wonderful Monday and Tuesday. We went and connected up with our friends, Counter Jihad Coalition in California, Southern California. They went to Santa Monica, and our purpose showing you those videos. And on tomorrow's show, Thursday, we may show you a couple more cuts from last Saturday. This is an ongoing battle, cultural battle.
We missed
really
some of the
is.
good clips out of there.
We're gonna have Steve on. I believe the organizer is going to be on by phone.
Young men and women, like late teens, early 20s, saying yes, they're in favor of people getting having their hands amputated for theft, and a young woman who says yes, of course she should be killed if she commits adultery,
woman
and
right
she
there on
would
the screen.
hope,
That's the one right there.
and she would hope that her father would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can I tell you, if my daughter were Miley Cyrus, I would do it myself.
Yeah, Miley's having some problems
come-
these
come a little-
days.
come a
Just
little-
freeze on that girl for a second. That's the one right there. That girl right there. She's got sort of a
Just can't
low-cut
believe
blouse.
it.
She looks totally Western, and she holds one of the most hardcore Sharia-compliant views on honor killing. That if the girl next to her
I can
had
play it
sex
if you want.
with somebody,
Can we play it?
as much as I think sexual relations, and many people, Christians and Jews and others, are for a man and a woman married, all of that, I don't propose killing the woman as part of the retribution or justice.
She
by
says
any
it right here.
means.
If you let me play it real quick.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
It's a life. Life is
She
precious.
hasn't made a mistake. We all haven't made
Okay.
mistakes. Just like
You've never made a mistake. You've never made a sin in your life.
Never made a mistake.
You've never had a bad thought. You've never said a cuss word.
No, we have a bad thought.
Wait, I'm talking to her.
No.
Okay.
If I should,
So if you had two daughters,
my father should kill me.
If
Not
you had
you,
two
not
daughters,
Muslim.
your father
My
should kill
father. Yeah. If I have sex, my father should kill me.
I'm
Yeah.
saying it's wrong.
That's right.
You should not be killed for it. You would kill
It's in
your
the
own.
Quran.
Yeah, my father
But
should
did you
kill
see
me.
her face?
No, yeah, it's.
I
just-
didn't notice that.
Yeah, if you just look, yeah, it's.
Bad thought. You've never said a cuss word.
No, we have a bad thought.
Come
Wait,
back
I'm
to
talking
me.
to
She did one of
her.
these things.
Okay.
Like, how stupid can you people be? Come over here for a minute. I'll show the people how she did it. She goes, yeah, my father should kill me. It's in the Quran.
Yeah.
You people friggin' idiots.
Don't
in
you
the
know no
Quran.
stuff?
Don't you know?
She's a very smart girl. Very smart girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
All right, well, we're going to show a little more of that tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I just want to introduce a couple of topics. We will get to them a bit later because they're of interest in the cultural clash that's taking place, our counterterrorism work, Islamic jihad, support of the U.S. Constitution, defeat of Obama, all the stuff in our wheelhouse. We're going to just give you a little taste of some of this. Here's a paper a couple of days ago, the Sun Sentinel, which is a South Florida leading publication by the Tribune Company, Chicago Tribune, LA Tribune. And right there are two good friends, Yucatil, Thule Woltz, and Cheryl, his wife. And this is a story about losing their son, Daniel, to a suicide
That's
bomber.
his picture they're holding.
2006, April, in Tel Aviv, at a restaurant that Mark and I were at last year. And Thule's fight against, now it's against China, Iran. Now Israel's even getting in the way of him litigating.
Politics.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Politics.
But we will keep you updated. We will bring Thule in because there's been some developments on that story. Then a couple of other stories, if you guys can go to our script. Yes, folks, we have a script. Yes,
We do have a script today.
We have a script.
Oh, that's
Yes.
good. That's
Yes,
good.
yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, good.
That's not the right one. This is the right one. I got a couple of them left over here.
And the first one is,
Ryan.
yes.
Right.
Take a look at this. In our efforts to stand with the Judeo-Christian worldview, what that means as an activist is when the Judeo-Christian worldview is under attack, we go to defend that worldview. And right now, one of the main battlefields is where? Where's this? Where are Jews and Christians under attack?
University
on
campuses.
University campuses, primarily Jewish students, a smaller population than Christian students.
That's correct.
And Muslims see them as an easier target.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work on campuses.
Oh, look at
This
that.
particular campus, the Fighting Vikings, or what are they?
They're the Knights.
The Knights, that's right, UCF, University of Central Florida. They had Siraj Wahaj there about a year ago. Mark, I think this is the
This is the one I was at.
this is the one you videotaped.
This is the one where we caught the guy who's a close friend of him, saying
Hafiz, starts with an S, his first name.
Hajizi.
Yeah, but his first name is. It's in here. It's in here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
What is
there
it?
won't be a
What
quiz.
it won't be a quiz.
No, there's no
No
quiz.
quiz?
today.
Sinclair.
This is-
Sinclair
Hijazi.
Hijazi, yeah.
Sinclair Hijazi. Yeah, our favorite guy who came out there and said he wanted to stone prostitutes,
Implement the Sharia.
basically. Yeah.
But there was a talk by Siraj Wahaj.
at the end.
Yeah, and we were wondering, okay, Siraj Wahaj is a big-time cultural jihadi. He's an unindicted co-conspirator from the first World Trade Center bombing, 1993. He's a Brooklyn imam. And so we filed a FOIA request, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. In fact, we did this with all the universities in Florida, said we want to see how much money the taxpayers are paying to bring Muslim jihadis onto the campus. And, we were anticipating $100 for rental here and $200.
Yeah.
See what the gist of this story is?
Yeah.
$1,250.
$1,250.
Just
This
speaker
guy
fee.
doesn't
Just
even.
honorarium.
Yeah. This guy doesn't even preach for free.
That is a little shocking.
Dawa for dough.
Dawa for
Not that we have anything against honorarium, and if you want to invite us
No,
to
of
speak,
course.
be sensitive that way. That's
Yes.
fine.
Yes.
But
But
that's
not if it comes
private
into your
money.
cupcake allowance
Yeah,
for the event,
that's
for
private
heaven's
money.
sakes.
This is
But Tom, you are a member of a hate group, and this is an imam.
This is public money. Yes, he's a lovely imam, so that's a story we're gonna look into in a little more detail. But we're just showing a couple of things we have either for later today or Jumpin' Juma Freaky Friday. We're gonna go into detail. So this is a commercial for those. All right, what was the next one we have there?
The next one is Muslim vigilantes in London.
Oh, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
You know the name of the
And you can find this on this story on Bare Naked Islam, which I encourage everyone to read on a regular basis.
our friend Bonnie over at Bare Naked Islam. What is the website again? BareNakedIslam.com. Great site.
And then it says under the top banner, it isn't Islamophobia when they really are trying to kill you.
Yes, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And this one, there's the English Defence League, EDL, in England that is trying to preserve English values against the Islamic Jihad onslaught. Well, Anjem Chowdhury, whom we're trying to get on the show, we're trying to track him down. Anjem, if you can hear us, give us a call. Call me, Anjem, call me. Give me a call. We're trying to get him on the show, and we've had some folks in England give us some of his numbers, so we're trying to track him down. Anjem, give me a call, okay? We want to have you on the show. He started IED. What does the IED stand for?
Islamic English Defense.
No, Islamic
Emergency Defense.
IED.
Yeah,
How
because
cute.
they're being so victimized on the streets in the United Kingdom. There are white Christians out there just slaughtering Muslims wherever they find
are.
them. Right
Well, we
out
saw
in the
it with
open, right out in the open in the streets,
We
cutting
saw-
their heads off and then
That's right.
saying they're doing it in the name of Jesus Christ. It happens every day.
Oh, every day.
We
Yeah,
saw that
it's very
in
common.
a Ramadan bombathon numbers.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we have that little thing percolating, the IED, a vigilante Muslim group in England. You know there's going to be a clash at some point of those cultures, English Defense League and the Islamic Emergency Defense. Next story up that we're going to deal with on
except
Jump
for
and
let's say
Juma.
one thing about this.
We got to make it fast.
Is that
'cause we
this
got a guy on hold.
emergency, Islamic emergency defense is not to protect Muslims, it's to intimidate non-Muslims who are engaging in behavior that is offensive to Allah and the Prophet Muhammad, according to them.
And we'll get into that in detail.
So, quite different.
Jump and Juma
No,
Freaky
it's
Friday.
the same thing.
Same
We're doing a
thing.
big commercial. All right, the
next up.
next one, Florida pastor going to burn
Loon alert.
2,998 Qurans. This guy cracks me up.
2,900 Qurans on the wall.
2,900 Qurans. Take one down, burn one down. 2,800 Qurans on the wall. 2,800 Qurans on the wall. 2,800 Qurans.
This is a
Take
real
one
story.
down, burn it down.
This is a real
2,700
story and a real show.
This is a real story, and he's going to have international press. The pastor, Terry Jones, has moved from where he was in the Gainesville area up to the Tampa Bay area, and as a symbol of...
As a symbol of his...
As a declaration of war.
Yes, whatever.
He's going to burn 2,998 Qurans on 9/11,
Right.
and we will have some of our intrepid reporters there live, maybe doing
Please
a live
send
feed.
me there, please.
Yes. Oh, no. We don't want trouble.
We have better plans for you, my
We don't want
friend.
trouble. Yeah, none of that. But the question is, and this is in Watchdog Wire. You can go to watchdogwire.com. Great site. There's a story about Pastor Terry Jones. And the question that Rich Swire raises is, what's worse, burning 2,998 Qurans or burning down a bunch of churches around the world? Muslims burning
Christians in them.
churches. Yeah, with Christians in them.
Yeah.
So again, Jump and Juma Freaky Friday. Just give a little introduction for that. Do we have our Jump and Juma Freaky Friday logo? We have our screamer
Yes, we
here.
do. We do.
We have our
All right,
screamer.
hang on.
Oh, yeah, I got to pull it up there.
Now we're gonna pull it up. Tell me when, so I can pull this thing out of my ear.
There we go.
Ready?
Oh, now.
All right, here we go. Jump and Juma Freaky Friday. Okay, we over? Is it over?
Yeah, it's over.
Okay, I can put this thing back in my
Back in
ear.
your ear now.
Okay, there we go. Okay, left ear is getting a little long in the
Ouch.
Ow.
All right, so
All right.
a lot of breaking, crazy issues. We do a very serious show. The content is serious. We kind of make it. We make jihad.
We
fun.
make
Because
jihad
Jihad
fun.
fun, that's
the
right.
stuff is so
Because
insane.
if we don't, who will? Nobody
exactly.
does.
Nobody
Nobody does.
Who will? If we don't, who will?
That's right.
But all these stories have an extremely serious point of this clash of cultures between American democracy and Islamic totalitarianism. Now, here's part of the problem. The foundation of what we know to be American democracy, this republic that was founded 36 years ago, some of its core principles are being eroded through the years, but more importantly and more expeditiously with this administration abusing its
Power?
its well, not its power, but its administrations hold the essence of America in their hands for a few years, and they're guardians. They're guardians of what America is, and they're supposed to guard it, protect it, and deliver it to the next administration in better condition than they got it. Sadly, with this administration, as the engineers, the social engineers
The
coming out of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, all looked at America as a Columbia or Harvard or Yale petri dish where they can implement their quasi-Marxist doctrine and
What's
theories
quasi
and
about
policies. We're in a mess, and there's no one better to walk us through some of the debilitating developments over the past 6 years with this administration than our next guest. Is he with us?
Yep.
He's an individual that worked for this great United States and served this country humbly and proudly, and then had a little run-in with those to
boys.
whom he was committed to work and defend. Let's bring on Kevin Shipp. Is he there? Kevin, are you with us? There he is. Kevin, how you doing?
Hi there.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you for sure. Tom Trento, CJ, we haven't met yet. We've heard a lot about you. We looked at a bunch of your stuff.
Can't wait to read the book.
We're honored to have you on our show today. How's everything? You're in the state of Florida, right?
Well, we're about to move. We're moving to Florida this weekend. We're in Georgia right now.
Okay, well...
He's not even afraid to say where
no,
he is.
yeah.
Pretty
You will
cool.
love Florida. It's a great state.
I'm just not saying where in Georgia.
Yeah, right. We're going to set the stage because we have some time with you, let's establish first why you decided to go into public service, and the type of public service you went into is somewhat esoteric in many respects. Give the folks a feel for your thinking going through school, some of your academic background, and then why you chose to go into the Central Intelligence Agency.
Sure, Tom. I started out, my major is in biology, and I wound up working in biology labs, kind of tucked away, smelling toluene fumes and things that really wasn't my idea of a good future. I was approached by a good friend who said, hey, why don't you apply with the CIA, which is where he was working then. And my response was, goodness, with my past in college, I don't think I'll ever get in there.
Yeah.
He said, well, go ahead and give it a shot. So I did. I applied, and over a period of about 6 months, with several mysterious phone calls asking if I was still interested, people knocking on my friends' neighbors' doors in dark suits, and then eventually a polygraph examination. To my surprise, I was offered employment and got in.
Wow! And when you got in, you went in on as what, an analyst, basically, to start?
Well, this was the period during the Reagan administration, and the Cold War was still at its height, just about to fall. So the patriotism was high, and of course, President Reagan was really maybe the last recent president we've had that some of us really thought we could put our careers behind. But I got in primarily because of the Reagan administration and the Soviet Cold War, so that was going on at the time. I entered in, they had a top secret cleared police force, so I started out as one of their police officers graduating from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. Then I migrated up as a protective agent on the protective detail of the director of the CIA, William Casey, during the Iran-Contra scandal, and then leading up to his eventual death.
Oh, so you were in the law enforcement and the sort of the kinetic element of the Central Intelligence Agency. You ever run into Ollie North in your Iran-Contra?
Several times.
Oh, did you really? Yeah. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He is.
All right, so you're in there, and if you're in a protective detail,
You see everything.
you see everything, and Director Casey has to travel overseas and within the U.S. You went with him wherever.
Well, there was a staff of several of us, and we were spread pretty thin. But yes, wherever the director or the deputy director or some of chief of stations went, we had to go with them if they're specifically in the case of chief of stations, if there was a threat on their life, terrorist threat, for example. So yeah, we traveled with them all over the world, and everywhere they went, in Washington, the Capitol, the White House, and our job was to just stand in front of them if anything was thrown their way, or who knows what else. But our job was basically to be the shield between them and people who didn't like them very much.
Sure.
It's like the Secret Service for the Secret Service.
Yeah, Secret Service. Now, Kevin,
Sure.
you're in a biology lab. You know, you're tucked away in some corner looking at germs in a petri dish, and a couple of years later, you're in the middle of protecting, one of the most important men in the world. What was going through your head when you said, "What the hell just happened"?
Well, pretty much that. I remember, just as a brand new officer, and eventually I became an agent while I was up there full time. As an officer, we're sitting in a foreign country, next to the director himself, and I remember sitting in the room next door thinking, I don't believe we're doing this. Well, we've been here 9 months, and here we are, and so and things were moving really fast, and with the Soviet Union and the Cold War, Iran-Contra was getting white hot, so the press was camped out outside the house and trying to follow us around, and it was a pretty intense time.
Did you ever have an opportunity in your travels to touch the garments of the icon of the conservative movement?
I'll tell you, one of the greatest moments in my professional life was standing about 4 feet from who we refer to as the man, President Reagan himself. And of course, there's a lot of things you'd like to say, like, "Oh, sir, we're really proud of you." But as an agent, you keep your mouth shut and you do your job. But it was just an honor to be in the presence of who I consider still probably one of the greatest presidents that we've ever had, at least in my opinion.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Won't find a lot of disagreement here.
Now, you have a very unique experience with the Central Intelligence Agency. And all of us here on our show, our organization, the United West, we are pro-military, pro-law enforcement. I did a degree in law enforcement, was going to go into the FBI at some point, and then had a change in my life. And that's the way we live, and that's the way we roll. We are for, the proper law enforcement, as obviously you were.
Yeah.
And it breaks our heart to hear these kinds of stories, but we got to be realistic. And if there is a problem somewhere, we've got to deal with it. Share your problem, your pilgrimage through the agency, and then the problems that occurred and where we are now. And we're going to let you develop it. We may break in with some questions, but I really want to get this on the record. It's a very important story.
Sure. Be glad to. Well, I migrated up to the ranks, of course, and as an officer, a security officer, as a Category 1 officer. You eventually, when you get to the top performance level, and I say that with all due humility, so I was placed in the Counterintelligence Center just after the Aldrich Ames case, and essentially we were searching for moles inside the CIA because of the astounding amount of damage that Ames did. Our job was to see if there was another mole inside the organization. So I progressed on as a counterintelligence officer, then I went into the Counterterrorism Center, and that's when we began to see the specter of Iran and the beginnings of Al-Qaeda come out during the African embassy bombings. I was there then. And things began to change. I came across, I was also an internal security officer, and we did investigations internally. And I was doing an international investigation on an agency system, and found that there was a vulnerability within the CIA that would allow foreign intelligence agents to identify our agents that we had out on the field in cover positions. So when I first found it, I thought, my gosh, this just can't be true. So I did about a 6-month investigation. Yes, please.
Yeah, what year was that, Mark? Let's blow him up a little bit. What year was that?
That would have been 1994.
Okay.
So the more digging I did, and I was heavily involved with the Department of State and some other agencies, the more digging I did, the worse it seemed to be. And it was pretty apparent that a foreign agent at one of our embassies overseas could go in and identify one of our covert agents, his or her identity, and then everything that they were connected to in addition to that. So this was my wake-up call. I prepared what probably about a 15-page detailed investigative report on what I had found, just pure fact, and contacted the CIA division involved, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, contacted the office involved and said, hey, I think we got a real problem here. I think the identities of our agents can be exposed. The response was, well, bring us your findings, let us look at your memo, and then we'll get back to you. So I dutifully sent my memo through the internal system, which is very tightly controlled. Gave them about a week, called back and said, did you get the memo? Have you looked at it yet? The response was, what memo? And I said, well, the memo that I delivered to you through official pouch. We don't have any record of any memo. I said, well, what do you mean you don't have a record? Well, maybe we lost it. I said, all right, maybe this is just incompetence. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll send you another one. We'll buck slip it. We'll put it in the internal system. I'll send it to you again. I'll give you a call in a week. Okay, that's fine. So I call back in a week. The executive assistant answers the phone. Hello, yeah, this is Mr. Shipp. Wanted to make sure you had a copy of the report that I filed, had a chance to review it, and let me know what you think. What report? I said, pardon me? What report? We haven't received any report. And I said, I've sent it to you twice through internal channels and tracked and the works. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Shipp, but we have no copy of such a report. I remember hanging up the phone thinking, okay, something's not right here. So I said, all right, this time I'm taking that thing over there personally. So I traveled over to CIA headquarters, went up into the bowels of the beast, so to speak, found the desk of the person and the senior officer in charge of this particular part of the organization, walked up to the desk, put it on her desk and said, ma'am, here's the report. My name is Kevin Shipp. Here's the report that's been missing the past couple of times. I think you at least ought to take a look at this because this is potentially serious. Yes, Mr. Shipp, we'll be glad to take a look at it. I said, breath of fresh air, thank you very much. Went back to my little humble office, call a week later. Okay, so-and-so, what do you think of the report? What report? Pardon me?
Oh, no.
The report I dropped off and gave to you personally with a buck slip, a routing slip on it. I've got a thing coming up on my screen. You guys still with me?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second, though, because we're at the bottom of the hour here. 5:32 on Wednesday, August 28th. You're listening to Kevin Shipp, former, I don't like using the term ex, but we're going to find out what happened with you.
Right.
Former member, agent in the Central Intelligence Agency, sharing his story, and it's a compelling and sad story in many, many respects regarding a man who committed his life to putting his life on the line to protect some of America's top leaders. And you're listening to Tom Trento, CJ, and the Bunker Boys over there on WNN 1470 AM radio, Miami to Orlando on the East Coast. And you're watching on TrentoVision, TrentoVision.tv. You could be listening on watching, right, CJ?
Watching and
on
listening on teapartycommunity.com, or you could be listening on your smartphone with your iHeart app.
And on Tea Party Community, our very dear friend Tim Saletti, he is doing some work now with Kevin, and Tim is the one who got us in touch with Kevin. Thank you,
fabulous.
Tim. Yeah. Tea Party Community, great organization.
Yeah.
If you need a social media networking location.
And you do.
Yeah, and you do.
And you do.
And
if
Facebook,
you're conservative, you need to do your postings and your musings on the teapartycommunity.com.
Absolutely.
And save your family and friends' photos and barbecue chats and things like that for Facebook.
Right.
But do your serious stuff on the Tea Party community and then do your fluff on Facebook.
Because when you hear the rest of Kevin's story.
Yeah, I want to interrupt with a question before he starts.
Particularly the Tea Party community, who have the blood of the framers metaphorically flowing through their veins.
Yeah.
These are the folks that need to rise up right now. These are the folks that need to become active. These are the folks that need to sustain, to stop, to obstruct the very quick deconstruction of America as we know it by this administration.
And
you have a question for Kevin?
we've gone after what's happening in the military. We've gone after the FBI.
Yes.
And now we're, gosh,
CIA.
now we're talking about
now we're
the
going
CIA.
After the
But oh man.
And nobody's listening in on our phones, so who cares?
Yeah.
All right,
but
you got a question for Kevin?
Yeah,
Sure.
in like within Kevin's story, because this is completely riveting. But I'm wondering, before you continue, are you able to tell us a little bit about what's in that report that keeps disappearing down the rabbit hole?
Just in generalities, based on what I've said, it was an international vulnerability that would allow a foreign agent to get in to some systems and actually identify the identities of our covert agents all over the world.
That's horrible. That is okay.
I don't want to jump
continue.
to the end, but has this glitch been fixed?
Yes, it has. Thank
Okay.
God.
All right. Okay, so please continue
That's
the
the
story.
good news. Not the good news about his situation.
Right,
but,
right.
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
It's been fixed, but it was a very painful process, let me tell you. Okay, so after hand carrying the document over there, I gave another call, was told that no, actually they lost it, quote unquote. They didn't know where it was, just didn't have it on hand. I remember hanging up the phone thinking, goodness gracious. About an hour after that, I get a call on the internal line there, and it's a very kind of threatening voice from a senior officer saying, is this Kevin Shipp? Yes, it is. Well, this is so-and-so. Yes, sir. What can I do for you? I am ordering you to drop this investigation and drop it now. And I said, well, sir, you know, I understand, you know, it may be embarrassing, but I think we've come across some things we need to look. He butts in. I'm telling you, I'm ordering you to drop it now. Click, hangs up the phone. So I've just been essentially threatened by a senior officer who was in charge of the office that was responsible for this. And I remember going home that night with this chilling feeling, like, goodness gracious, what do I do here? Well, I gave it a good night's thought and just came to the conclusion that, goodness gracious, the lives of my fellow agents are at risk here. I can't in good conscience give this up. So I went back in the office and sent the memo out again. Again, there was no response. I went into the main server in the organization to dig it out, and it was gone. It was erased from the server. They were trying to make this whole thing go away, and I'll never forget that chilling feeling. My gosh, this is my own agency doing this. What is going on? Well, providentially, there was a former agency officer, and I got to withhold his name, but he was one of the old God and Country patriots, served under the Reagan administration, was now with the Department of State Inspector General's office, and one of my bosses shared the report with him, and I got a call on the internal line one day, and it's kind of funny. It was him. I had just spoken to my brother, who had to go, and I said, hey, so-and-so, I'll give you a call right back. I got to go. So the idea was for him to call me back. So the phone rang, and I picked up the phone thinking it was him, and I said, Pizza Hut. And it was a senior officer with ID. I said, no, this is so-and-so. So I did one of those moments. I said, I apologize, sir. I explained the joke to him. He said, don't worry about it. He goes, listen, we got a copy of your report, and we're very concerned about this. We want you to come over and brief the senior staff. So I did, and thank God they looked at it, and they said, look, Kev, we're going to take this, we're going to look at this, we're going to travel to these embassies around the world. We think there may be a problem here ourselves, and we're going to find out what it is. Okay. He said, you'll hear from us in a few months.
This is the IG now, the Inspector General.
Yes, of Department of State.
Department of State. Let me sort this out for the listeners or viewers. For those of you driving in your car, we have Kevin Shipp, former agent with the Central Intelligence Agency. Kevin, we have an hour radio show, and in South Florida, as you'll learn in Northern Florida, people come in and out of their cars, and they catch part of it. So we want to tell them, you need to go to youtube.com/TheUnitedWest. Watch the whole show after you get out of your car. Don't watch it now. We don't need that. But Kevin Shipp is a former agent with the Central Intelligence Agency. He saw some vulnerabilities within the agency that put agents' lives at risk. He tried to run that up the flagpole within his agency, following the protocol, was shut down at several levels through a providential manner. The report got over to State Department, which is different than the CIA, and somebody in the State Department, an Inspector General, it sounds like.
And it was the State Department because it involved personnel who were serving overseas.
An embassy somewhere. Yeah. So they said, wait a minute, we got to look into this. So now this could be, we could write a nice script for a movie here. You may have a movie here, Kevin, you know?
Tom,
you might even have a book.
You might even have a book, you might have a book.
And the book, you could even call it From the Company of Shadows.
From the company. We have,
yes, we do.
we're gonna put your contact up. Right now, for folks that may have to leave us, how could they contact you if they want to?
Well, the book itself, and we'll talk about this later, has a code embedded in it. And the only place that they can get a copy of the book with the embedded code is to go to kevinmshipp.com. And that's where they get signed copies, and that's where the copies come that have this code we'll talk about a little later.
Okay, Kevin M. Shipp with two H's, I mean,
with
P's,
two P's.
Two SHIPP.
Yeah.
.com, and the the code. Okay, now
an embedded code.
Here it is. He's serious, folks. This is statecraft and with the CIA.
We have this.
All right, so now we have this situation. State Department, CIA. What is the circa?
What's
what
the
year are we in?
relationship between the State Department and the CIA during these years? This must be in the late 90s already, mid to late 90s?
Yes, and this was, and I have great regard, of course, for the State Department, but this was the old State Department that would share things with Congress and would tell the truth under oath. That has changed a bit with Benghazi and other things. They were very cooperative, extremely cooperative with me at the senior levels, and really, they're the ones who uncovered the real beef of this whole thing. We had
that was Madeleine Albright.
Yeah, who was
right?
the secretary then?
Oh golly, back then it was Madeleine Albright back then, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, okay.
And so they were very very open to this, which for me was quite a change. So I get a call back about 3 months later, and they take me over to the top floor of State. We have a big meeting, and they say, we appreciate what you did, Kev. It's worse than you even thought it was. This is a serious vulnerability. We're going to have a meeting with the agency office responsible, and we are going to present their findings to them. So we have a big meeting in a big conference room. It's me, Department of State, and the senior agency officer that ignored this problem and apparently, quote-unquote, lost these memos, and State IG publicly rebukes this officer with me sitting there. Now, again, this is one of my senior managers.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there thinking, as they're publicly rebuking them for putting the lives of their agents at risk for years, I remember sitting there thinking, well, there goes my career. I might as well
really
decide the McDonald's hat or something, because this isn't really good for my future. Anyway, then the intelligence community put out a lengthy report detailing the vulnerability. It was very serious. An office was created that addressed the vulnerability internationally, and it was corrected. But that was my wake-up call as a loyal officer, and I'd gone on a couple of one-way missions for them where there was a chance we wouldn't return. That was my wake-up call. Like I was starting to kind of see the monster that the agency had become. So I decided, I traveled a lot internationally. It was a strain on my family, so I was offered a domestic position here in the United States. I can't say where that is, but I was put on a secret facility with my wife and my 3 children, who really were the most important thing in my life. And we were put on this secret facility. I was one of the senior officers in command there, and within about 3 months, my kids started bleeding out of their noses. They were vomiting. My wife was bedridden. They had her on morphine. She completely lost her short-term memory. All of us had strange rashes on the areas of our skin that were exposed. My son's immune system, I secretly took them to an immunologist without the agency knowing, and his immune system was so damaged it was potentially fatal. So I sent cable after cable back to headquarters, pleading with them to do a study on this house, or what it was sitting on, to find out what was essentially killing my family. Once again, shockingly, they refused to do it, essentially citing, no, we don't want anybody really, you can't say anything about this site. As a matter of fact, they commanded me to cut off all contact with Washington. So what I did was I collected my own samples about it. I sent the samples to a well-known university and immunologist. I flew my son out without them knowing it, got him a full battery of immune system tests on him, brought them back. The doctor's review of the test, his response was, Mr. Shipp, your son's in serious condition. It looks like, not that he was, but his immune system looks like what would happen if you were exposed to a burst of radiation. This is serious. So I came back, presented all the blood tests, the environmental tests, samples that I had taken, sent it back to headquarters, and that's when the fun began. Our house was broken into. Through about a 3-month battle, I got them to agree to put us into a hotel for a little while so we could get better. And while we were gone, the oldest trick in the book, trapped the house with tape seals, took a little Radio Shack voice-activated tape recorder and put it up in the utensil holder in the kitchen, and a little cheapo motion-activated cordless alarm, and put it in the house. Well, we come back in, and once again, another shocker. I turned on the tape recorder, and someone had come through the door, activated the tape recorder, shut the alarm went off. They somehow knew how to shut the alarm off, so someone had broken into the house. We went back into the master bedroom where we had found some of this toxin on the ceiling. You can only see it with ultraviolet light. So I hit the ceiling with the UV light, and there were brush strokes of some chemical that had been painted over the toxins that we had found on the ceiling by whoever broke into the house. So we knew that things were getting pretty dark. I hadn't put two and two together that maybe this was connected to my study, international study that I did, until the agency came back with a firestorm demanding me to come back to headquarters for interviews. I walked in to the building on this site one day, and guess who walks in as the new boss? It was the officer that was rebuked by Department of State.
Oh,
for
my
that
word, you're
vulnerability.
kidding me.
Now becomes my new boss. And I remember thinking, it just can't get any worse than this. So they ordered me back to Washington. The family was still very, very sick. I was put before interrogations where they tried to get me to recant what was in. I wrote a lengthy document, an internal grievance, about what I had found, the results of the blood tests. The grievance went through the system. I tracked it down into the mail system and was told again that that grievance that I had written with the evidence of the house had disappeared and was lost again. The fellow that was checking the system, I said, well, he goes, I've never seen this happen before. I said, well, what does this mean? He goes, it means it's gone. It's vaporized.
It's gone. Yeah.
So here we go again. So I wound up in a interview, and I was an old interrogator, so it didn't really work real well, but they tried to get me to recant what was in my evidentiary memo in this grievance. And of course I said politely, well, thank you very much. But
how do they know what's in it if they didn't see it?
Bullseye. During that interview, all of a sudden they pull out my report. And I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? Mysteriously, it shows up again. And I said, boy, this whole interview is just really peculiar, and I'd like to see you try to poke some holes in this memo because it's all blood test results. Anyway, I hired a tough Texas attorney. God willing, his identity will come out someday because he has become one of my lifetime friends. Fought them head on, courageously. We filed a personal injury suit against the CIA on behalf of my family.
While you were an employee still?
Well, no. It was for my wife and children. I found out one of the things most agency employees don't realize is we have no rights. When you're in there,
exactly.
You're government property.
If you're shot, injured, part of an operation where it goes bad and you're hurt, you have no rights. Plus, you've signed a secrecy agreement, which is what they're using in Benghazi right now to silence the witnesses. If you say anything, you can be sent to jail.
Right.
So I had no rights. We filed a suit on behalf of my wife and 3 children.
Okay.
Well, the important question is, are your wife and the family, had they recovered from all the...
No, we were, all of our property was destroyed. My kids, our family lost all of our personal possessions. My children had to sit in the yard while they removed their possessions, all their toys, boxed them up to be taken away and burned. We lost everything that we owned. Eventually I resigned. My computers were bugged. I was being followed wherever I went within headquarters. So I resigned to fight the lawsuit with my attorney. Eventually resigned from my career, so now we had no personal possessions whatsoever. We'd lost the career, our health insurance. Then they turned around. I applied for a hardship loan to help the family out. Got the loan paperwork in the mail, or the payment book, and the amount of the loan had been raised. The interest had been raised. So, and we couldn't afford it now, so I called the credit union. The fellow didn't know what was up, so when he looked at the records, he goes, I don't believe this. I've never seen anything happen like this before. They raised your interest rates and raised your payments. He goes, and I was taping the conversation. I have this on tape. He said, this looks like some kind of retribution. Here we go again. Then, since we had nothing to live on, I put in a request to cash out my retirement policy, which you can do if you leave the organization. And I was called by the Office of Personnel Management, a separate agency, and told by her, this lady, we have been ordered by your agency to block your funds and not disperse your retirement funds. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. So I hung up and did some checking regarding the law. That's a felony to do that. So I called this lady back and I said, ma'am, I think you may want to check the laws on this. To hold retirement funds is a felony. And she got real concerned, flustered, and said, well, I'll check into that. And I had my retirement pension fund 1 week later. So they went after us with a vengeance. I wrote a book on what happened. Now, again, this is all unclassified information. It's blood tests, doctor's diagnosis, and things like that. I was called in for my final interview at the agency where I was threatened. They tried to get me to sign a document stating that I'd engaged in insubordination. And I said, you know, that's very, very kind of you, but I respectfully refused. They tried to order me to go over to CIA headquarters for blood and psychological testing, which was the evidence in our case. And you can imagine what kind of psychological testing would have come out of that.
Oh, no.
Here, take this LSD we have for you here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
We'll just attach some electrodes to you.
Here, hold these battery cables.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's switch the blood samples with a squirrel or something.
Yeah, really.
Anyway,
I was thinking of the
Jeez,
squirrel,
man.
actually.
Well,
Remember our squirrel?
before we go much further, it's 50 minutes after 5 o'clock, Wednesday the 28th August. Fascinating story with Kevin Shipp.
I'm sick
former-
to my stomach because
Yeah.
this is how many years ago, and we know that whatever happened years ago, it's worse
14
now,
years,
and
yeah.
it's everybody.
oh,
not
guys,
just
no,
people
guys,
on
it's
the
5 times
inside.
worse now. Than
Kevin,
it was
the
then.
question is, was there ever an identification of what was causing all the ailment?
We found there was a black substance that was growing within the walls and in the crawl space and in the ceilings. We had that tested. It was a neurotoxin mold called Stachybotrys. In the yard were shell fragments that were percolating up through the ground. My son found one that said mustard on it, and got back. I was still a loyalist until I finally realized what they were doing. I said, get rid of that. Throw that thing away. You're not supposed to know about this stuff. So there were things under the house in addition to this black stuff that was growing everywhere.
My goodness.
Whatever was going on there, they did not want the public to know about that. And I've been asked, why didn't they just settle with your family? Why did they go after you all so hard and use the state secrets privilege and shut the case down and seal the evidence? And my only response to that was they didn't want anyone knowing what was going on out there or what had gone out there, and they were willing to sacrifice a wife and her 3 children to do it. So I wrote the book From the Company of Shadows. Chapter 26 in that book is a relation of the story of what happened to our family, unclassified doctors' reports, blood test results, psychological testing. My wife and son had clinical PTSD. All of chapter 26 was completely blacked out. Then we finally, a good judge ordered the CIA and our family to a mediated settlement. The CIA, after about 4 hours, the CIA signed a legal mediation settlement agreeing to settle the case and end it. We were elated. We thought it was all over. 2 days later, I get a call from my attorney. The CIA had called him and said, we're not abiding by the agreement. He said, wait a minute, this is a signed legal document. They said, no, we're not going to abide by it. As a matter of fact, if this family and Mr. Shipp do not accept a lower settlement, we're going to invoke the state's secrets privilege, seal the evidence, seal it in a secret court, and no one will ever see this case.
That's a black box that never gets opened.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, and I found out since then, with my own investigation, that they have used the state secrets privilege in that regard 400 times. They claim they only use it in a handful of cases. That is simply untrue. Anyway, we told our attorney to tell them, no, we demand that you abide by the agreement, the legal agreement that you signed, and in principle, we're not going to take a lower settlement. So sure enough, they invoked the state secrets privilege, sealed the case, all of the doctor's diagnosis, blood test results, environmental test results, placed a seal on it so no one, not even our congressman or senator, could have access to the information. Wow. And if myself, my wife, or kids talked to anybody about the case, it would be violating the seal and we would go to jail. Wow. That's what they did.
Oh, my goodness.
So that is chapter 26 in the book, which is completely blacked out. My family is still suffering, my oldest son especially, ruined his finances. They have no chance of college whatsoever now because of the loss of my career, and we had, golly, thousands of dollars in legal fees, $10,000 in medical expenses. And I wrote, when I wrote From the Company of Shadows, I wrote a code into the book that exposes what is in chapter 26. Now, as a CI officer, and this is where, who knows, we'll see. I hope they don't wind up selling my shoes at Goodwill or something. But, you know, you have to do what is right, especially with what we see the CIA is doing now in Benghazi, what the NSA is doing, what the Department of Justice is doing, and violating our constitutional rights with impunity. I finally decided, and for the sake of my family, I need to come and bring this out and hold them accountable for what they did and the gross abuse of the state secrets privilege, really an illegal abuse of that. So I wove a quote into the book. The CIA looked at every sentence and every word in the book, which is part of what they have to do if you're a CIA officer, and approved the book for publication in September 2012. Well, the code was in there, and they didn't see it. The original idea was to leave that code in there as a legacy for my family after I was gone, so eventually their story would be told. With recent events and my son pleading with me because he's in pretty serious shape, I finally decided to come out and reveal that there is indeed a code in the book, and if you put the code together with the key, it reveals what's in Chapter 26, the fact that they use the state secrets privilege and what they use it for to cover it up.
Well, okay, we got to buy the book. I mean, you know,
we got to buy the book, but we need somebody else's name to
How do
send
you
it
get
to.
the code?
I don't want anybody
here,
knowing I
the
bought
key
it.
to the code, I should say.
here's where we are. We got just a few minutes
A couple
left,
of quick
Kevin.
questions.
A few minutes left. We're going to have to do part 2 with you for sure.
I think so.
But we need to wrap this story up for our listeners and our viewers so that they get the complete story.
Give me a little synopsis of the whole story. For
Yeah,
those of us.
and let's see. We got, what, 3 minutes left? 3 or 4 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. You got a couple of quick questions.
Real quick.
Just
Sure.
quick answers, then I'm going to have you sum the thing up.
Okay. When you first started to send your reports to your superiors about what was happening in your house, et cetera, did you, and you realized what was going on, did you contact the Inspector General from the State Department who's responsible for getting you into the mess in the first place, is one question. And then the other question is, why do you think if they wanted to get rid of you, why wouldn't they just have sent you on a mission overseas where something could happen to you and then you just, you know, you're dead, you're gone, you disappear or something like that, instead of doing something so obvious domestically?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I think they thought they had scared me so much that I was going to keep my mouth shut about it, and most agency people are terrified inside of there, and they probably thought I was going to keep my mouth shut and they'd stick me on this base and I would go away. Fortunately for them, they're the ones that trained me. I was not afraid of what they were doing, and I was not going away. And as regarding the State Department IG, they contacted me. The report was given to them by this former senior officer who got it from one of my bosses during a meeting, and it just kind of got there through a third party.
Right, but he's the one who called the meeting that brought you in.
We can't get into that. That'll be part 2. That'll be part 2.
That'll be part 2?
You're right.
Sure. Yeah, but here, just as we wind this down, we want you to sum it up. But sum it up in the context of answering this question. The Central Intelligence Agency today, 28 August 2013, good thing or bad thing?
The Central Intelligence Agency, Americans need to understand that we have a secret government that functions outside of our Constitution. There are 1,271 secret sites in the United States with a domestic mission, not a foreign one. The CIA has sidesteps to the Constitution, violates our First and Fourth Amendments along with the NSA. For example, Benghazi is trying to get information out of the CIA. They're blocking access to the CIA witnesses, threatening them, polygraphing them once a month to keep their mouths shut. They will not provide even the most basic information to Congress on what happened in Benghazi. The documents that Congress does get are blacked out. The CIA has become a monster. We are in a post-constitutional government, and our intelligence community functions on its own rules and outside of the U.S. Constitution.
Okay, you heard it.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the
how was the play?
How was the play?
Oh my God!
All right, Kevin. Now you are available now to speak for different groups, and
yes.
All right. Well, we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna close it there with you because we're running out of time.
That's if we don't get shut down first.
It's some black stuff starts growing in our, well, there is black stuff growing in our studio anyway. We're immune to all of that. But Kevin Shipp, thank you very much for your service to the United States of America. But maybe this next deployment, your service to this country, to reveal some and expose some of the serious problems within the Central Intelligence Agency. Thank you, Kevin, very much. We're going to let you go.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, we'll be seeing you, everybody. We're going to wave goodbye. Pretty wild stuff.
Oh my
what do you think?
Sorry, huh?
This is Jason Bourne stuff, you know.
I know.
All right,
Jeez,
but we'll be
man.
on this
All right.
critically important story. Bye,
Fade
everybody.
Thank you.
See ya. Fade the black.